This might just look like grass, but it has the power to absorb a load of our carbon emissions. Forests, peatlands, deserts and tundra can all absorb and hold stocks of carbon dioxide. Of all the carbon held in land-based ecosystems, around 34% can be found in grasslands, data from the World Resources Institute show. That's not much less than the 39% held in forests. There's also plenty of it in the United Kingdom, which will host world leaders and climate negotiators in just over a week at the COP26 climate talks in Glasgow, Scotland. Among several items on the agenda is how to protect forests and plant more trees to help slash global emissions, but Plant Life, among other groups, is campaigning for grasslands to be protected at an international level and part of any deal that emerges in Glasgow. While leaders meet in the Scottish city, Plant Life is working to restore more than 1,000,000 hectares of meadows, including one on the other side of the United Kingdom. In the southern English county of Kent, the Ranscombe Farm Nature Reserve looks just like your typical patch of English countryside, with its soft rolling hills and grazing cattle. The grass here looks ordinary, browned in patches from the autumn weather. But come spring, the rare orchids, bellflowers and rock roses will bloom in a celebration of this grassland's biodiversity.
Restoring species-rich ecosystems like this takes time, said Ben Sweeney, Ranscombe Farm's manager, who has been working on this grassland since 2010. It will take a couple of decades, he said. Ranscombe Farm protects not only grasslands but also woodlands, rough grazing pastures and crop fields for rare plants. Sweeney explains that just like with an animal sanctuary, Ranscombe Farm nurtures rare plants in small sections of the reserve, where they are thriving, and can hopefully grow and spread out into bigger habitats soon. But even after years of careful management, rangers have not been able to reverse all the impacts that farming and land degradation have had on the site. In the UK, these vital habitats have been slowly disappearing as a consequence of decades of intensive agriculture, housing development, and infrastructure build-up over the last century. The UK has lost more than 2 million acres of grasslands as urban and woodland areas expand, according to the UK Centre of Ecology and Hydrology. That concerns activists, because grasslands not only store carbon but also serve as a buffer for extreme weather and help prevent soil erosion. Their roots hold together light soil, and the ground cover prevents erosion from wind and water. These habitats help with natural flood management by holding water after extreme weather events, then releasing it gradually. The loss of grasslands also threatens the important species that rely on them, like bees, butterflies and other pollinators. A recent study published by the University of Manchester revealed the UK's grasslands store more than 1.8 billion metric tonnes of carbon. That's the equivalent of storing the yearly emissions from about 400 million cars. But they are pretty much ignored or have been ignored in many sustainability policies, said soil expert and ecology Professor Richard Bargett, the study's lead researcher. Your diet could be linked to grassland destruction when managed poorly. Grasslands can become a net source of emissions, rather than a sink to remove them. Rearing livestock on grassland, too, plays a major role in methane emissions, which is also contributing to the climate crisis. A global increase in demand for meat and dairy products, as well as soy, is putting pressure on grasslands. The world's most biodiverse savanna, the Cerrado in Brazil, has been reduced to around half its original size, mainly for the expansion of beef and soy production, according to the Worldwide Fund for Nature, which says the Cerrado loses an area equivalent to the size of São Paulo every 3 months. In China, vast expanses of grasslands are in a state of ecological crisis, according to scientists, caused by overgrazing of the land. Meanwhile, in the United States, the expansion of farmland has led to the prairies of the Great Plains losing an average 4 football fields every minute, according to a WWF report published in 2020. While grassland protection is a global concern, there are growing expectations for the UK to show climate leadership ahead of COP26. Campaigners are disappointed with the omission of grasslands as a nature-based solution in the government's net zero strategy, which is being seen as a potential blueprint for other nations' climate roadmaps. The importance of grasslands and carbon capture, improved biodiversity, sustainable food production, water management and societal well-being continues to be missed in this report and in government policy. Dunn said. We need to be working on a mosaic of habitats. Craig Bennett, chief executive of the Wildlife Trusts, said that the government's net zero strategy had significant gaps and that its authors, from the government, don't seem to have fully recognised the role that nature can play. There's little new for nature in the strategy, he said. The land restoration policies will rely on a modest $880 million Nature for Climate Fund, which had already been announced in the Conservative government's election manifesto, Bennett points out. Biodiversity loss and climate change are global problems requiring global solutions, the spokesperson said. But DEFRA did not comment when asked whether grasslands would be discussed at COP26 and sent quotes around the importance of ending illegal logging in forests as a nature-based climate solution. A group of 38 British lawmakers are also calling for international recognition and protection for grasslands at COP26. In a motion, they want Parliament's House of Commons to recognise the role of grasslands for its ability to reduce emissions, reduce flood risk and act as critical ecosystems for pollinators. They urged government ministers to use the opportunity of COP26 in Glasgow to seek international recognition and protections for species-rich grasslands, to lead by example in taking action to mitigate the effects of climate change and increase biodiversity, and to ensure that those areas of natural beauty are preserved for future generations to enjoy.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe